Welcome to the channel. I'm trying to summit 14 or number 15 out of 58, Mount Princeton. I am at the two-wheel drive parking area right now. As you can see here, it's a pretty good size lot. There's a couple of porta potties back there. They were actually clean by porta potty standards, so I'm gonna give those a 3.5 out of 5 on the toilet rating, because they were clean, didn't smell as bad as they can get, so not a bad place to be able to use the facilities before you start the hike. If you start here, you're looking at a little over 13 miles round trip and about 5,200 feet of elevation gain when you're doing the hike. I myself am going to camp overnight. About halfway up the trail roughly is a spot where there's supposed to be some dispersed campsites and a good starting point if you want to have a shorter trip. From the campsite, you're looking at about I think 3,200 feet of elevation gain, and the round trip at about 6.5 miles. So a nice one to build off of me doing Antero a few weeks ago. If you want to see that video, I'll put a link down in the description for you. I'm looking forward to doing this trip. I'll show you what the drive up there is like. Based on the videos I've seen when I've read, the road is not necessarily difficult. There's not, kind of rocks and all kind of crazy obstacles. It's just the fact that it is narrow, and at certain points you're on a shelf road with steep drop off. So gotta have the nerves to still there. Our first vehicle coming down. Thankfully, I'm at the very beginning of the trail. Hopefully there's not going to be too many more people coming down, because you don't know when you're going to meet them. If you meet them at a bad spot, it can get treacherous. Someone's going to have to potentially back up, and sometimes people do weird stuff. So I'm not looking forward to potentially meet some other people coming the other way. Most of the time, it just so happened to run into people at the point where there's a good point to pass. It's only been a few times where it got dicey. The one that really got me worried about it and kind of semi-traumatized me was up in Ouray doing Imogene Pass. If anybody's ever been to Ouray, it is extremely popular. That road is really narrow with drop-offs, and there's tour trucks, there's experienced jeepers, there's tourists who are just renting jeeps down in the town and going up there. So it's just a lot of people with a lot of different skill levels, and you just don't know what they're gonna do. So when we were up there, it was like a traffic jam, and there's a car coming down the other way. There was a truck in front of us, and if it would have pulled up a little bit more, so like a good pull off, everyone, including me and everybody behind us, could have gotten up there, could have gotten to a place that was good for someone to pass, but they weren't moving, the people were coming, and the truck that was coming down was basically driving on the side of the mountain, and it was tilted towards us, and there's maybe, I don't know, an inch between us and them. But I was like, man, after that, I was like, oh, and that's a situation where things could have gotten bad. Another reason I don't like these types of trails, it makes it hard to get like really cool video, because the road is so narrow. There's not really a safe place to kind of pull off and mix with the camera and all that other kind of stuff. But so far, it's so good as far as the trail goes. There's definitely kind of some ruts from like the water and everything like that, but nothing too crazy at all. A stock vehicle could definitely do this. As a matter of fact, that first vehicle that I saw coming down, I think it was like a Honda CRV or something. So definitely not difficult. I'm about to drive past the guy I saw hiking on the road and passed me up, and he is hardcore. A lot of respect for someone who can do that. And the views here are amazing. I'm about to see that's the top of what I think is probably Princeton. Okay, well, we have a section here where this is some pretty big like ruts here. That section right there would give a vehicle with low clearance some problems. Right before I started down the trail, a guy in a Toyota Tundra stopped me and asked if you could drive up it, or if you had to walk, I told him you can drive all the way up to the top and head it up. And I'm starting to catch up to him here, so I'm gonna try to give him some space. I don't want to pressure anybody. I think I'm getting close to the communication tower and where the camping is. I think it should be just around this bend here. And so far this has been a quick trail since there's no obstacles or isn't all super rocky. As long as you just kind of keep a nice little pace, you can move through it at a pretty good pace. Oh yeah, I'm up by the camping area. There's a couple of vehicles on the road here, so hopefully I'll be able to find a spot. Let's see, we can find something here. Looks like there's a spot here. Man, I don't know if this is a good spot. I'm gonna pull up here and do some scouting, I guess. I walked up a little bit and I don't see a ton of other campsites. So I might just have to make this one here my spot for the night, and we'll see how it goes. I talked to a woman that was coming down the trail, and she says there's another section that has campsites a little further up, so I am gonna go ahead and head up there, and she says there's plenty of places to turn around to, so I'm glad there's more options. I'm really happy I ran into that woman walking down the road, and she says there is more spots further up the road. This is much better than where I was planning on just making do. This spot, you can fit a few vehicles, 2 or 3, and it looks like there is spots to put 3 or maybe even 4 tents, 3 fire pits in a relatively nice area. I think I'm going to set up camp right here, and look over here we have a fire pit, place to sit down. I'm going to get the tent set up, and that way I can save my spot. And then I'm going to go ahead and drive up to the end of the trail and do a little recon before tomorrow's hike all the way up to the summit. I got camp all set up, so I'm ready to drive up to the end of the trail. And I think from this point it's only a couple of miles, so it shouldn't take me long to get up there. I drove all the way up to the end of Mount Princeton Road. I saw the point where you leave the road and the trail starts heading up to the summit. Every time I see a summit, it always looks intimidating to me. But I just tell myself one step at a time. I've done it 14 times. Number 15 is going to be, just like all the other ones. I ran into a few people that were walking down, and both people said that once they got into the scree, it got confusing and they got off the path. One guy said he ended up going like 500 feet down before he realized that he was way off and had to climb back 500 feet to get back on the trail. There was a woman that told me there's more campsites up here. She said that she also has some issue route finding once you get into the scree. There's the what are these called? Cairns, but they can be kind of hard to see. And so I've already prepared myself to know that once I get up in the scramble, I might have some difficulty. I think I just need to, have more confidence in my decisions. If I see the point where there's a path with footsteps, and even if it gets a little hidden by the scree, just commit to that path. I think that's the best way to go, because all the time after I get off in some other weird direction, if I would have just stuck with that, I would have got where I needed to be. And if worst comes to worst, just go up. That's the good part about a lot of these summits. Just go up and you'll get there eventually. I'm a little bit of a mess today, so I got the campsite set up and I was getting everything out, and I realized I forgot my sleeping bag. So hopefully it's not going to get too cold tonight, but I have this hoodie, I have thick socks. In addition to forgetting my sleeping bag, I was trying out one of these meals that you just put water in and does a chemical reaction to boil it. I left my jet boil at home, but the second meal that I brought is a meal where you need to boil water. So I was like, oh, jeez. But I have enough snacks to be able to get me through until tomorrow. So either way, I'll be good.
So I'm bundling up. I have my hat on, I put some gloves on, a couple of pairs of pants, some thick socks, 2 pairs of socks on. And then I remember to have this emergency thermal blanket. And it's not necessarily an emergency. I can just sleep in the car if it gets too cold. But yeah, I have these things. I have absolutely no idea if they're any good or not. So right now it is very crinkly and loud, so I don't know how well it's going to work, but yeah, I figured I might as well find out, and hopefully it doesn't get too cold.
It's a little after 6 in the morning, and I'm about to get started on the hike. I've already seen quite a few groups come up. I heard a group walk by my tent around 4:30ish in the morning, and maybe maybe 4 or 5 groups have been here so far, so it might be pretty busy up there. I did not sleep well at all. I can't believe I forgot my sleeping bag. I used that thermal emergency blanket. I imagine it's what it's like to sleep inside a potato chip bag. The sun is just starting to kind of, come up over the mountains over there. It's beautiful. You can see down into the valley, and this is so calm and peaceful out here. I love mornings in the mountains. There's just something about it. You just can't beat that. The roads switch back several times depending on where you park, but from my campsite, I reached the first switchback, and I know from driving up here yesterday that the road gets pretty steep once you get to these switchbacks. So far, it hasn't been too bad at all, but I believe the incline increases dramatically basically from here on. And I believe right back there is the summit for Mount Princeton. Right down there is the communication tower, so maybe a quarter of a mile from there is where I'm camping. But down in the valley there is Buena Vista, a little over to the north there. It's such a beautiful area. I'm starting to get pretty warm. I need to take all this stuff off here. It doesn't take me long to get hot once I start moving. The area where I parked, where I camped, there was like, 3 or 4 campsites there. I actually saw quite a few people who were looking for spots to, drive past and keep on going up. So I wasn't sure where they went, but a lot of people are parking or camping at switchbacks, and there were some other spots like at the end of Princeton Road. There are some spots there. There's no tree cover and you're kind of exposed, but it is an option if you can't find anything. I'm at the point of the hike where you leave the forest road, and there's these stairs here that you take right up there. Okay, so forget what I just said about that being the steps you take to get up there. I was coming down to get the camera. The guy came through and said, no, a little further up is the ones you want, and they're a lot better condition. Because yeah, these stairs are in a lot better condition. I can see the summit is still quite a ways away, but it's always encouraging when you can see the goal in sight. Route finding is kind of difficult. I see what appears to be multiple different trails, but I do see a cairn right there, so I think I'm still on a pretty good route here. Can get a little confusing, but I think just gonna go straight up here and then follow it along. I stay confident in my decision. For a second there, I thought about going down there, but I'm like, nope, I am going to stick with what I've committed to. I did not get lost, thankfully. It was slow going, but got through it. It looks like it starts to zigzag up to the top of the ridge there, and then I believe all you do is just follow the ridge all the way up to the top. I've reached the point in the trail where you start to climb. Now when you're looking from down there, it kind of looks like the trail continues along here. You don't want to follow that. And it looks like they put a rock wall here so people don't continue on the trail there. And you want to start climbing the switchbacks. Ultimately, goal to get up there. I made it to the top of the ridge line, and during that part it's steep. I was really starting to really feel it. My legs were starting to feel the burn. My heart was getting pumping. I had to stop and take, a couple of seconds rest a few times coming up that. But at the point where you follow the ridge, and I'm not gonna lie, it looks pretty intimidating from here. But I'm gonna go ahead and keep pushing on through. When I was coming up, there was a guy going down. He made it to about this point in the altitude, kind of got to him, which is a smart thing to do. If you feel that altitude sickness coming on, head back down, take your time. And a lot of people I talk to, once they get down into lower elevations, they start to feel better pretty quickly. Before I start climbing the ridge, gotta appreciate this view though. It's incredible. Imagine how good the view is way up there. What looks like it's going to be the hardest part here is this final push, because it looks really steep. I don't know if this camera's going to be able to pick them up, but there's people trying to work their way down, and it looks steep and slippery. I'm going to have to bust out the trekking poles here. I'm almost there. Man, this has been slow going ever since I hit that first boulder scree filled area. It has been kind of a slog, but I am keeping on pushing on. My legs are really starting to feel it now. It's just, this terrain is just so rocky, and now it's getting kind of loose dirt. But I'm almost there. Next time you see me, it'll be at the top. I made it to the top, and I'm not gonna lie, that last climb up here sucked. It was steep and slippery dirt and rocks, and I tried to outsmart the trail. I was like, oh, it'd be easier if I go this way, and I got all off trail. Not lost, but didn't take the most efficient way up here. Eventually found the cairns again and got up here. But yeah, that last little bit sucked, but it's worth it. The views up here are incredible. Number 15 down. Hopefully I can get a few more in before the end of the summer.